Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be painting a portrait of Astarion from Baldur's Gate 3. I've done 2 other videos leading up to this one, so if you'd like to see me learning to draw him, or how I transferred the sketch onto the watercolor paper, I will have those 2 videos linked down below. As you can see, I've sketched him with some pomegranates and some kind of frilly flower. I just kind of made it up. And to get started, I'm going to be giving the pomegranates a yellow underpainting, and then I'm going to be giving everything else a blue underpainting. You'll see at first that I didn't give Astarion himself an underpainting, but later I also give him a blue underpainting, just a little lighter than the background. I chose a yellow underpainting for the pomegranates because I think that a yellow underpainting looks good on most fruit. I chose pomegranates because they're a very bloody fruit, and so is Astarion. I also chose pomegranates because I really enjoy them as a motif. I think they're very pretty. This is actually the first watercolor painting I've done in a while. I've been enjoying the Gansai paints a lot recently, but I've also been missing my first love, so it's good to get back to them. I'm actually using my Isaro paints for this painting, which I haven't used for a long time, and it's really nice to get back to them because they're really fabulous paints. Although I will say that these ones have a bit of a smell, I noticed. That's probably my fault. I probably closed them while they were still damp, and they're a little funky when they're wet, I will say. Little gross, little gross. I actually had to take a break from filming this for a little bit because I was so unsure of how it was turning out. I just needed a break from thinking about the camera and thinking about the painting because for a little while towards the beginning, I was so unsure that it was going to turn out okay. So I just needed to turn the camera off while I figured out, is this a viable painting? Am I going to be able to make this painting turn around? Is this just an ugly phase, or is this painting just totally screwed? So I actually turned the camera off for just a little bit so I could figure that out and start to feel more confident in where the painting was going. And I'll be the first to admit this didn't turn out exactly how I wanted. I like it a lot, but it's definitely not what I was picturing at the beginning. Some of that is purely down to my own hubris. I know that the lighting in this game is very detailed and complicated and therefore hard to paint, and so I probably should have picked a simpler image as my lighting reference. Instead, I picked one that's actually quite difficult, especially with, again, Astarion's very shadowed face. And if I had picked something simpler, I could have placed my focus somewhere else and used it more wisely. The rest of the problems, I think, are not my fault, though. They aren't down to skill so much as I'm certain that this watercolor paper is expired. That might sound incredibly weird, but watercolor paper does expire. It does go bad eventually because the sizing on the paper, the thing that makes the paints interact with the paper in the correct way, does not last forever. Exposure to humidity and just time and air and whatever will make it fail with time. And this is no problem for finished paintings that are done because it's really only important to wet paint. And I didn't know about this for a really long time. There are things you can do to slow down this effect. You can store your watercolor paper in plastic bags, but again, I didn't know about this for a very long time, and I've had this paper for quite a while. So it was not behaving the way it should have. It feathered and looked patchy when it was wet. It made it very hard to judge what I was doing because the paper itself would get very, very dark. Now, naturally, with watercolors, the paint goes down and then it dries a little bit lighter, a little bit desaturated from how it looked when it was wet, and that's normal. But this was not that. This was the paper getting dark from water, which is different. It got very, very dark, and then it would dry way lighter and very different. It would dry much smoother, thankfully, but it would go down and it would look very, very grainy and patchy, and there were dots that would stay dark for a very long time, and it was very, very strange and very difficult to work with. The colors never built up as rich as they should have. I know these paints very well. I know all of my paints quite well, and they were not nearly as vibrant as they should have been. Even with all of the layers that I did, they were not behaving as they should have. But the most difficult thing was definitely judging my values when it would not dry. It would take forever to dry, and when things would feather. The watercolors keep fairly crisp edges when the paper is working correctly, and they weren't doing that. They were feathering out into the paper because the paper wasn't acting like watercolor paper. It was just acting like cotton paper, cotton, like you could imagine, like cotton felt. So it was just, all the moisture was just bleeding outward. And it wasn't too dramatic, but I could see it, and it was very distracting. So it was just very difficult to work with the combination of this very difficult lighting I chose to impose upon myself, and then the paper, which was just completely behaving wrong. And I'm not really sure what I'm going to do about that, because I'm pretty sure that's most of my watercolor paper that's acting like that, and watercolor paper is not cheap. I can't just go out and buy it for fun. I mean, this wouldn't be for fun, but it's a little distressing. I've got some sketchbooks and stuff that I know are still good, so maybe I'll switch to working in sketchbooks for a little bit. I don't really know how I'm going to approach this problem going forward, but I'm going to have to start thinking about it. But all that said, I do really like how this painting turned out. I really, really do. I really like the pomegranates. I really like the flowers. They're kind of weird. They're not the kind of flowers I would normally do, but I do like how they turned out. And I really like how his eyes turned out. I think his eyes turned out really, really well. And like I said in the sketching Astarion video where I was trying to learn how he looks, I've been struggling with eyes for a while, and I'm very happy with how these turned out. This is my final planned video featuring Astarion. and Baldur's Gate 3 for that matter. I have a lot of other videos lined up, and by the time I have room for it, it will probably not be in the cultural zeitgeist anymore, which is unfortunate. In better news, next video is my first ever studio vlog, and I'm almost done with my current sketchbook, so I'll be doing a sketchbook tour very soon. So look forward to that. I have lots of ideas for paintings right now that I'm really excited for, so again, I really hope you're looking forward to that because I think they're really, really cool ideas and I'm really excited for them. I also wanted to mention I had a realization while working on this painting though. You know who he makes me think of? He's like a yassified Preminger from Barbie, Princess and the Pauper. Like, even his character is similar. They're like corrupt officials, which is super fucking funny to me. I think I need to see a cover of How Can I Refuse, but sung by Astarion's voice actor, because that would be amazing. Like, I need that in my life. What do you think? Do you think those two characters are similar? Did you like the painting? Did you like the video? Like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more, leave a comment if you're feeling saucy, and I will see you next time. Bye!